Hello and welcome back to another episode of VLOGTOBER, where I'm attempting to make a video every single day in October just for my own personal growth. And today I have a rant, a little bit of a rant. My rant today is, why is it so hard to take a mental health day off from work? If you're like me and you have, some spice in your life in the form of depression, anxiety, OCD, whatever else is on the spectrum, shout out to you guys, I see you. But there's times where you obviously find yourself ill, but you're not physically ill. There's nothing wrong in your physical, I guess your brain is your physical body, but you get what I mean. There's nothing you can point at that is a physical ailment that you can say, here, I've got a tummy ache, I need to take a day off. It's more of, brain stuff where it's like, man, I've been feeling overwhelmingly sad, or everything at work feels overwhelmingly difficult to do and I need to take a break. All that stuff that we go through that make it challenging to do our day-to-day activities, family, relationships, friendship, or whatever. And of course, work, because obviously work falls in this category. And if you're someone like that who struggles with some form of mental health condition, diagnosed or undiagnosed, doesn't matter. If you struggle, then you know how difficult it is when you know that everything that's going on is inside of here, and that you actually kind of need time off to take care of what is going on inside of here and come back to be with people and be, a valuable and functional member of society. But it is so hard, and I think for me, there's two ways in which this is difficult. There's the internal battles that I have to fight, which is to even get to a point of acknowledging that, my gosh, whatever I'm going through right now is actually mental, and that I am not well mentally, or I'm having a depressive episode, or I'm overwhelmingly anxious enough for me to say, I am not well, I need help. It takes me a while to get to that place to feel like a mental health condition is as serious as a disease as if I have anything else that is also serious, like a migraine or ulcers or whatever it is. That to actually acknowledge that if I had ulcers right now, I would just be like, hey guys, I have stomach ulcers, I need a day off. But yet to say, hey guys, I'm not feeling well today, and to know, even without being specific, even without needing to be specific, because you don't always need to be specific, as far as I know, it still feels at the back of my mind that I am not, this is not the ideal. I shouldn't take a sick day off because of a mental health, when even though it is sickness, even though it is, I am unwell, it just feels wrong, or it just feels like I am a weak person, for needing to take time off for this specific reason. And so overcoming my own challenges in my head and getting to a point where I'm like, besides what is happening in my body, I actually need, it's bad enough for me to actually take some time off and to actually validate my struggle. That's what I'm trying to say, to validate my struggle and to say it is a struggle nonetheless, and it deserves the treatment, better treatment that I would give any other kind of physical battle. So overcoming internal challenges, my gosh, I think that for me is the biggest battle, to validate myself and say what you're going through is real, and it is, I don't need anything else or anyone else to make it feel more valid, because what else do I need, right? It should be that easy, but it's not. And some of that is because of the conditioning that I have and we have as society around mental health and the stigma that is there. And I think even now, as conversations around mental health are becoming normal, personally, I don't feel like people are confronting enough of their stigma. I don't see people unpacking their own stigma enough to make me feel like society is progressing forward to a point where I can shame-free say, hey guys, I'm depressed today, I'm not coming into work. I feel like we are getting to the point of someone being able to say, okay, I understand that's a real thing, but it still feels to me that communally, we're not moving forward enough for people to see that as a valid thing. I think somehow I still feel like people perceive that as a minor struggle compared to if I had something else that is tangible that they could point to, I broke my arm, or I'm having whatever it is. So that's on one side. And I think with the external pressure is, yes, obviously the stigma and what people perceive as your mental health being bad. I feel like it's always, you have to be at a point of an actual breakdown, either in the hospital or you're acting, way traditionally out of character to the point of like, oh, this person is not themselves. And so, yes, now they deserve a break. Like, if you're not on that extreme side, or on the side of like not actually being able to function, I feel like you're not taken seriously. I feel like everything below that is just kind of like, get over it. You're sad today, everybody's sad. You're anxious, guess what? Everyone worries about stuff. You think we're all like, having fun filling our reports. At least that's a narrative that I tell myself, because that's how I feel like people perceive these things, forgetting that if you're someone who has some form of diagnosis or struggles enough to know that this is actually a serious problem in my life, because obviously diagnosis is such a privilege on this side of the world. Like, you're like, yes, everyone is able to like have sad moments and still show up. In fact, I have sad moments where I'm like, I am sad today, but I can still show up in the world. I'm specifically talking about the moments where you're like, I cannot show up today. If I had the option to not show up, I would not show up. And those times where I'm talking myself down is I'm forgetting that, yes, everyone goes through these normal human emotions, but not everyone goes through them the same, right? And so, like, not everyone finds it extremely overwhelming the same way which I find it overwhelming. Like, I actually need to acknowledge that my year is different from your year, Like, I am someone who, for instance, for myself, major depressive disorder, I'm not going to pretend, like, I shouldn't have to pretend that I feel sadness the same way other people do. And not that it's every time that I feel it extremely, that when there are those times, then I need to make special accommodations for myself, the way in which other people with other conditions that are perhaps not mental make special accommodations for themselves. And the second thing I think is with the external pressure is the fact that we live in a capitalist society, guys. It's the fact that our society has linked your productivity and your actual value. I mean, look at our whole work system. You get paid what you put in, and there's levels and all those things. But inherently, we live in a society that's by and large capitalistic. So in capitalism, you are what you bring to the table. You are your value. You are your productivity. And like, you can unlearn this on a personal level, but on a society level, unless we have that shift, it's still not gonna, you still have to, live with what you have to live with. And so the fact that people are actually expecting you to be a functional human being all the time, and that if you're not, then it seems like you're not pulling your weight as you should. And we all want to be perceived as functional and productive members of society, because again, capitalism has made your productivity your worth. And so if we're not able to be functional members of society, we genuinely feel worthless, and we feel like we are of no value, that we're not adding anything, and like, which is not true. Like, we should be able to find, like, human dignity means just by being, you are worthy. Like, you are worthy of, like, basic human rights, your basic needs being covered, because you're a human being, you're a living thing, But yeah, that's not how our world functions. And so having to consistently succumb to a world that values productivity first, and that productivity only, like, that productive value is only, like, the standard is a person who is, like, ideally, even we can even say like a white male. Like, that is the standard of productivity, like a white able-bodied male, and then everyone else kind of like falls under that. And so I will focus on the able-bodied part, right? Like, being able-bodied is like gold in like capitalist societies. And if you have anything that like takes your points down, if I can use that language, if you have anything that's like, oh man, you don't have the same physical privileges, you need a wheelchair or something like that, you need mental health days or mental health care, or you need people to talk to you a certain way so that they are mindful of how you process things. All of these are like not catered for in a society that values productivity the most. And so to be able to thrive in this environment, it's either you have to keep up, or you have to actually choose for yourself and say, even though like society and capitalism is designed and does not make space for anything else, I will make space for that in my life, which kind of goes back to like the whole internal struggle thing, because this cannot happen if I don't get out of that like internal struggle of, no, what I'm going through is worth actually like asking for help and taking the days off. Like it deserves that sort of treatment. Like only when I get to that place, and not even consistently, I feel like I've taken the pressure off for that to be my way of thinking all the time, because that's harder. But to just say each time I am faced with a mental health challenge, I want to, and I'm not there yet, I want to be able to speak up and say, if I feel the need to, because it's also your prerogative to keep things to yourself that you don't want to share to your workmates or your people around you. Like your own privacy and protection and boundaries are important. But for me to not shame myself for needing that, for me to not feel any sense of shame around needing a mental health day from work, that is my ideal goal. Like if I can get rid of that internal shame, I feel like it will be much easier for me to consistently make choices for myself, like in the workplace and elsewhere, to just continuously advocate for myself. And I feel like one, like being on TikTok, for instance, has one, like kind of not normalized, but like let me know that like I'm not the only one who struggles with this. There's this trend that I'm gonna, hopefully I want to insert the TikToks. Inserting the TikToks has been challenging, because when the time comes for me to insert the TikTok, I'm just like over it. But there is this kinds of TikToks that have been like,
I could have said, well, songs about Ricky, never mind, he's trash. I was like, I could have said that.
That would have really
But I didn't. I said, now I listen and laugh.
I could have said that, you know? That's what I'm talking about. But also on the other side, to see some people who are, especially like Gen Z, being really brave and being really like outspoken and saying, this is how we've always done things, but humanity is crying for a different way to do things, and a different way to look at each other as more valuable than the labor we bring to the table. And for us to be the best we can be for the work communities that we want to be a part of and contribute to, because yeah, it is what it is. We want you to also treat us with dignity. Like, so much would change about our work environments if we just saw each other as human first. And if we allowed for human inconsistencies, if we allowed for bodily and physical inconsistencies, if we were more open to understanding that, man, maybe I've grown up in a way of thinking where I don't take mental health seriously, but there's other people who are struggling, and me not taking them seriously is actually harming them. Like, I wish for a world that would be more introspective with how we perceive mental health, and for that to have real life like impact on how like our workplaces and even our relationships function, with consideration to that. Like, I need it for myself, but like, you know, it's not an individual effort. I think there's one part that's an individual effort, and there's another part that's a societal effort. And part of us being able to talk about those things, honestly, I think is what moves society different. But my God, the fight, the struggle is real, because when it boils down to it, in my real life, the way in which this conversation feels is not even the way I'm saying it now. It just ends at like, it's way too hard to ask for a mental health day, or to tell someone this is what I'm going through at the moment, and so I need this, and that. Like, if I can get to that point where it's like I can ask for that easier, I feel like that would make such a valuable like life improvement, like quality of life improvement, just because again it helps me get over the point of like, ish, what must I say today, to like, man, it's okay that I need this time, it's okay that I need extra time, it's okay that I'm struggling, and it's not a cop-out. And sometimes it's not a cop-out, sometimes it's just genuinely they're struggling and they didn't know how best to be able to tell that to you, because the way in which our systems and our societies and our workplaces are geared and structured is not one that allows for people to come and open up freely and effortlessly. So my challenge to you is, folk, since we're moving forward as a society, what can you do for yourself and for someone else to make it easier for people to ask for help, or for people to take that mental health day off, whether or not you know it's a mental health day off? Like, I don't think people should have to know that it is, but I think the fact that it's such a taboo for people to know makes it even a hurdle to ask for help the way in which you need to ask for help. And so what can you do today to kind of push the needle forward, as they say, and trying to make workplaces a better place, make friendships a better place, make businesses a better place for people to show up with what they're struggling with, and their emotions and all of those things, because that matters. You matter, and like, they get in the way of life in ways that are real and deserve to be seen and advocated for. So that is my rant today, and I hope that it's going to become easier for me to ask for help. I hope that it's going to become easier for you to ask for help. And let me know in the comment section below. Yeah, what do you think about this conversation? Where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree with me? If you'd like, I would really love to hear your thoughts. And that's all I had for today. I'll catch you again tomorrow, since we're doing Vlogtober. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and